Hey guys, it's CrafTea and I totally did not forget to film an intro to this video, so you're just gonna get these beautiful clips of me when I actually looked good. Anyway, today I am going to be posting my long-awaited how I made my 18th birthday cake. So just a very quick disclaimer, I don't want to be like blabbing on for too long, but basically I made two cakes for my birthday, one for my actual birthday and then one for my birthday party that I had with friends. This one that I decided to film a video on is the one that I made for my birthday party, so I shared it with all of my friends. If you would like to see my birthday cake for my actual birthday, I posted that on my cake Instagram. My cake Instagram is at CrafTea on Instagram. I just thought doing two videos was a little overkill, so I just decided to film one. So without further ado, let's get into it. I decided to not spend a lot of time on making the actual base of the cake just because honestly that's like the most boring part. So what I did for the cake was I just made a basic vanilla cake recipe. Here's the batter, and then I just baked that in a large cake pan. The issue that I had was, I don't know what happened, maybe I didn't spread the batter out well enough, but for some reason the cake was so slanted. You'll see how I fix that later. I repeated all of these steps that I just explained and made 2 layers of cake. Next, I worked on the fillings, so I decided to go for a custard theme just because I love custard, and I honestly didn't feel like making custard from scratch, so I just used like a powder, and it actually turned out really good, and it is super delicious. I tried to make like satisfying shots, but honestly, it looked a little like chunky, even though I strained it like 100 times. After I made the custard, I started whipping up a batch of Italian meringue buttercream. So basically, I whipped up my egg whites, I added some sugar, and then I added my sugar syrup, which is just water and sugar that you boil to a certain temperature. And then after it had turned into a meringue, I started adding my butter in small cubes. I have started using Italian meringue buttercream for all of my cakes. I just think it's so much better than just normal buttercream because it's less sweet. You literally have to beat Italian meringue buttercream for so long because if you don't, it will look so chunky and absolutely disgusting. But once you beat it for like a very long time, it will turn into a nice smooth mixture like you see here. So you're probably gonna already know what my cake looks like because I posted it in the thumbnail, but basically I printed out a big 1 and a big 8 so that I could use them as a template to cut out my cake shapes. So here is where I dealt with the very uneven cake. So this one for some reason just did not even out very well, and so what I ended up doing was cutting the thicker half, like cutting a very thin section off of it and then flipping it onto the thinner section. You'll be able to see here. It honestly turned out absolutely terrible, and I would definitely not recommend this, but honestly I was just working with what I got. It ended up looking okay in the final cake, but it was a disaster to get there. After I tried to level out the cake, I put my cutout shapes onto the cake and weighed it down and then used a very sharp serrated knife and cut around these shapes. I baked 2 layers of vanilla cake so that I could have 2 layers of the like final product. So this is just me cutting out the first layer. This one was such a disaster, honestly. Like you'll kind of see later in the video, I tried to time-lapse everything because you really don't want to see me as like cutting a cake for like 100 hours. The second cake that I did was so much better and it just looked a lot more satisfying. But this part right here is my favorite part. I absolutely love like taking the cake off. It was very satisfying. Moving the 8 was super hard to do because it was like literally almost ripping in half because it was so delicate. Anyway, I repeated all of these steps that I just talked about for the second cake. This cake turned out so much better. It was so much more even. I really don't know what happened to the other cake, but it really did not even out very well. This one was so much easier to cut out and it just looked so much more satisfying and it was like not falling apart as much. I removed the paper templates and then I took the like different sections of cake out so that I could get my numbers. Obviously I did a 1 and an 8 because I'm turning 18. This part is literally so satisfying. I absolutely loved like watching it on the video. It was so satisfying to watch. After I moved the shapes of cake that I cut out, after doing like the rough cut, I decided to like refine them a little more to make them look nicer. So basically what I did was cut off all of the browning off of both of the cakes and then just kind of perfected the shape. As you can see with the 1, I had to cut off a ton of the browning parts on both like sections that I cut off. I don't know if that makes any sense, but these cakes took a very long time to level because they were so uneven. So the time lapse that you just watched was literally like 2 hours. Just kidding. It was like 20 minutes of me like cutting the cakes, but it was a very long process. At this point I honestly forgot that I needed to cut out the middle all of the 8. I don't know how I forgot, but that's what I did here. Also so satisfying. And after cutting these out, I was like, these look like mini cakes. So I actually made a mini cake out of the like circles that I cut out, and you can also watch that on my cake Instagram. Wow, I'm doing a lot of plugs today apparently. I next decided to dye my icing, and if you can see in the background, you can see one of the macaron shells. That was very bad pronunciation. I am very sorry. Basically, I made some macarons a couple days earlier, and I based the color of my cake off of them. So I was using the shell as like a tester to see what color I was going for. I really wanted like a muted pink color, but I actually really like the color that this turned out, and I think the whole color scheme together turned out so well. Alrighty, this next part was an absolute pain in the butt, but basically I got this piping tip set, which is supposed to help you make different colored icing easy, but I had the hardest time trying to put it into a piping bag. It ended up literally like not being what I wanted at all. It looked way too sharp and just like not good. So I ended up actually like not even doing that for the top. I just did it for the inside, and I think it looks cute, but it was such a waste of my time, honestly. This was a literal pain in my butt to do. Oh my gosh. Alrighty, after that disaster, I took my simple syrup, which is sugar and water, literally just sugar and water boiled together, and I simple syruped my cakes. If you could not tell, I got a new simple syrup bottle. It is so fancy. I felt so professional squeezing it all over my cakes. It was very expensive for what it is, but you know, I mean, I make a lot of cakes, so I guess it's worth it, you know? And then once I simple syruped them, I took my cake board, which is a very large white one, and I put my bottom 2 layers of cake on the bottom 2 meaning my 1 and my 8, and position them. After simple syruping my cakes and putting them on the cake board, I took the horrible icing and I did little like dollops of icing all over the cake. They were like little tiny Hershey Kiss sized blobs, and as you can see here, it was not always perfect. Honestly, one of them got stuck and it would not stick to the cake, so I ended up just taking it off and then doing another one. It ended up working out fine, and honestly this part of the video is so satisfying. I cannot, just doing the little dots. Then after filling the cake with the icing, I took my custard and I put a small thin layer. I learned from my 1 to leave more space in the 8 because I kind of wanted more custard, so I like left a whole bunch of spots empty so that I could fill it with custard, and I think that worked out much better. Then after I did all of the filling with both cakes, I took the second layer of cake that I made and I very, very carefully layered it on top. This was so satisfying. I think like at this point I was like, yes, my cake is finally coming together. Like my envisionment is coming to life, and here you can see the different layers of the cake and the color. I think honestly the colored icing turned out well in this situation, but I am glad that I didn't do it on the top of the cake. Oh boy, if you think what I just did in this video is complicated, you are not ready for what is to come. I literally just sped through the rest of the decorating part because I made so many things to decorate the cake with. I made chocolate, like mini chocolate bars, mini Reese's Pieces cups. Here you can see I was making the mini chocolate bars. I just used a mold, drizzled them with more white chocolate, and then put the sprinkles on top. I also made some pink chocolate bars. These ones did not turn out quite as well, but I just wanted some different variety, honestly, just so that I would have some color variation, even though I'm just doing like 2 different colors basically. Here you can see that I was doing the luster dust for the flowers. I got these wafer flowers from a bulk food store, and they were white, and I was gonna make fondant flowers, but like honestly that was just too much work, so I bought these ones and they were so expensive. It is actually insane. And then I just took some pink luster dust that I had and I just painted it on, and it worked so well. They turned out so cute. And then this next part of the video was me filling up some macarons. I made these macarons a couple days before. Yes, I made them. I made them myself. I am kind of a pro at making macarons now. No, I'm kidding. I'm not a pro, but I've made them a couple of times, and honestly, I'm surprised at how well they turned out. I'm getting better and better every time that I do it. It's kind of impressive. Anyway, I just filmed a time lapse of me filling them. Like literally, how cute did these turn out? Like it is insane. Alrighty, after doing all of that decorating work, you can see how I packaged the cake. I literally covered it in tinfoil so that it wouldn't dry out in the fridge. This last part is literally the most satisfying part. This is really when the cake started coming together. Basically, I put my white Italian meringue buttercream in a piping bag with a large round piping tip. This part of the video was just really funny and I had to keep it in because it straight up sounds like a fart sound. And and I did the same little like dollops of buttercream all over the cake. This is so satisfying to watch. It is actually insane. The piping in time-lapse mode is so satisfying. It was like much slower in real life, but watching it all come together is so satisfying. Once I finally got to this step, basically the last part was just putting the different decorations that I made onto the cake. I used the pink buttercream and I did little dollops to hold the different decorations in place. I used all of the different things. Again, I made some Oreos, or not made them, but I decorated them. I used my macarons that I made. I also used my wafer flowers and the mini chocolate bars that I made, and also some white chocolate pretzels. I didn't make those, but I bought them, but I really like the contrast that they made. They were really, really nice, and they kind of popped on the cake. This part is really just trial and error. You just have to like move things around to try to make it look aesthetically pleasing. It's basically just coming out of your imagination, you know? And then once I put all of the like big chunky like things on the cake, I used my piping bag with the pink icing, pink and white icing, and I just did little rosettes all over the cake to kind of fill up the space that looked empty. Again, this is really just trial and error, like putting things, taking things off. I mean, you can't really take them off once you put them on, but really just going for it, using your imagination. And then the last step was just taking that gold sugar, gold like decorating sugar, and I just sprinkled a ton all over the cake, and I feel like that really just like pulled the whole cake together. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy with the cake. You came for the satisfying B-roll shots, so this is what the cake looked like when it was all finished. Roll the B-roll. Alrighty, so that is how I made my 18th birthday party cake. Again, if you wanted to see the birthday cake that I made for my actual birthday, I will put some pictures on the screen, and I will also link the video of me making it in the description box, which is on my cake Instagram. Literally every time I finish a cake, I literally just stare at it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually made another one, and it doesn't look terrible. About this cake in this video, what do you guys think of it? Honestly, which one do you think is better? Do you think this one is better, or the one that I actually had for my birthday is better? Tell me down below which one is your favorite. And also the filling was just so good. It was a really good cake altogether. I would say it was a tad sweet, which is kind of interesting because I didn't add any like really extra sugar anywhere because the buttercream isn't super sweet. So if I were to make it again, I would probably try to use something to kind of balance the sweetness. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed watching it and you enjoyed seeing my process, and don't forget to subscribe down below for more cool videos. Don't forget to be safe and make good choices, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!
Oh shoot. It kind of looked cool with the sun.
Good thing you're a good catcher.
Well, that's your piece because birthday.
Oh my gosh.
I won't put